Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot, or of course, welcome to the channel if you're brand new here. Thank you so much for joining me today for a topic I am super excited about. As you can tell, the title you just clicked on is What Makes You a Hero in Your Spirit Guide's Eyes. So this will be a pretty good positivity boost, I like to call it, reading, or kind of a pick-me-up. Quite complimentary as well, of course, because we're talking about your heroic qualities in the eyes of your spirit guides. Okay, so I hope this reading brings a smile to your face, and very fittingly, we're using the Hero's Journey Oracle today to help us choose our piles, right? So spirit guides coming forward for our wonderful community. Would you please guide us to the right cards for pile 1, 2, and 3 to intuitively choose, to see how their spirit guides view them in heroic ways. Okay, that almost flipped out, we'll see. I think I know which one pile 1 is. So that was this one. It almost came flying out first. You saw that. We'll pick that one. And then definitely pile 2 is this one. And let's take a gander for 3. I'm feeling this one right here. And let's unveil the cards together. So for pile 1 today, your leader is, number 26, Me Time. Enjoy your own company. Okay, for pile 2 today, here in the middle, we have number 41, You hold the key to an awakened life, set yourself free. Very beautiful, almost looks like either a sunrise or a sunset up there above the sleeping figure. Okay, and last but not least for pile 3 today, over here on the right, we have number 18, Knights of the Round Table. Let their love lift you higher. Okay, so quick refresher, pile 1 is Me Time. Pile 2 here in the middle is You hold the key to an awakened life. And pile 3 over here on the right is Knights of the Round Table, though of course you can always just click on the video right now, pause it a little bit if you need more time to decide. If you're new to pick a card readings, I always suggest close your eyes, take in a deep meditative cleansing breath. Imagine light entering into your lungs. Hold it for a second. Let it back out slowly, and when you open up your eyes, pile 1, 2, or 3, see what your eyes are drawn to first. What is your gut instinct about what feels right? And that is the pile that I suggest you choose. That is your intuition telling you something, okay? But whatever your method in choosing your pile, you can drop down to the description box below or the top pinned comment beneath the reading. Find the timestamp there for your pile, and I'll see you in our little chat about what makes you a hero in your spirit guide's eyes. See you there. Hello there, my awesome pile number 1. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about what makes you a hero in your spirit guide's eyes. As you recall, the pile leader you were drawn to today was number 26, Me Time. Enjoy your own company. And when I meditated on this card a little bit before I started the recording, the main word that intuitively came through from your spirit guides was grace. Okay, which I know sounds odd because the figure in this card is reclining. She's not really technically moving, but it's the expression on her face that makes me think of that. And how that translates to, how your spirit guides view you in a heroic way is, I think what they're saying is that you tend to handle things with a lot of that grace, almost dancer's grace I'm hearing. I don't know if maybe some of you are literal dancers, like maybe you're into, tango, ballroom dancing, maybe just dancing for fun, not necessarily on a professional level. Maybe some of you are though. But even just in the way that you handle things from moment to moment is like with how a dancer would. Especially when obstacles come up in your way, I feel like you tend to, what's the word? You handle it very well. You don't groan, you don't moan, you don't go, oh no, well, how am I going to tackle this? It's like a very watery feeling. I know it sounds odd to say watery, but maybe you are a water sign, pile 1, but a watery feeling of, okay, there's a stone in my path, but like the river, I'm just going to kind of flow around it gracefully. Okay, so that's the first thing that's really prominently coming forward, is that imagery of someone being graceful when it comes to problems that come up in their life. Like if you were a hero or a protagonist in a story, pile 1, you know, on the big screen, let's say, you'd be the type of hero that, you know, it's almost like, you know, you're the one that walks away from an explosion and doesn't look back, because it's just like, you know how to handle things that come at you. Okay, or at least they see that potential in you. And I think at the time that most of you are viewing this video, it already has kind of blossomed, is why they're bringing it up. But yeah, so yeah, you're a hero that doesn't look back at the explosion. You just keep going on to your next mission. That kind of thing. So it's kind of a funny imagery of just like, they were showing me like that cliche of someone walking away not looking back at the explosion. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool, right? So let's grab some other cards for you, pile 1. We're going to grab your oracle cards first for this reading. We'll grab an archetype for you, which is a perfect kind of deck for this reading. So spirit guides, what archetype would you give them as a hero? Thank you. Also, you have a streak of independence, pile 1. Especially because your pile leader was me time. Okay, we got 2. Your pile leader was me time, and so it makes me think of someone who doesn't really necessarily need to rely on other people. I mean, not that you're antisocial, pile 1, but at the same time, it's like you know how to kind of dance on your own to the beat of your own drum, which is funny because you literally just got Rebel that flew out from the Archetypes card. I wonder if it'll even mention that. So we have Rebel. So light attributes: challenges authority to effect social change, rejects spiritual systems that do not serve inner needs. And I would read the shadow attributes, but this reading's topic is about what makes you a hero in your spirit guide's eyes. So we'll focus on the light attributes here. So yeah, Rebel, dancing to the beat of your own drum, like I was just saying, right? Pile 1. So they see you as almost kind of like a little bit of a, I don't know if you call it a rabble rouser, but yeah, you're someone that is independent. You're someone that does not just take things as they come. You don't just accept things the way that they are. You look at society and you see what's wrong with it, or even maybe just in micro ways, like in social groups that you're in, and you're like, okay, this is what's wrong with this social group, and this is how we fix it. And almost kind of in an outspoken way, pile 1, although some of you, even if you're introverted, I think if something really tempers with your sense of justice, you still will speak up about it, okay? Because there's that sense of right and wrong here with that rebellious aspect, okay? So, bit of a revolutionary. Maybe even that affects the way that you dress. Maybe you don't really dress along with the trends. You dress the way you want to. But yeah, rebel with a cause, kind of, I'm seeing. That apparently doesn't look back at explosions. And then we have Avenger, which is actually really cool because, you know, of course, you think of superheroes when you hear Avenger. Perfect for this reading, right? And the light attributes says desire to balance the scales of justice, like I was just saying, that sense of right and wrong, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. So literally, like, your spirit guides almost view you as like a literal superhero, minus, of course, the superpowers, pile 1. I mean, you even have someone that has a little bit of the, like the blindfold on. I mean, it's kind of that joke, like, you know, Superman is Clark Kent, right? And he looks just like Superman, and then no one actually knows that he's Superman, even though he looks like exactly the same. But, you know, comic logic, right? But yeah, so an Avenger and a Rebel. So I see your spirit guides are kind of taking this almost literally, pile 1. When I asked, you know, how do you view pile 1 as a hero? You got Rebel and Avenger, so a rebellious superhero a little bit. So yeah, standing up for the little man, standing up for justice, okay? That might even manifest itself in the way that you like your job, pile 1. You know, perhaps you work as a lawyer, or you work for people that, you know, have been done wrong by the justice system in society, or you help people get justice, things like that. Or at least that's a very, very core value to you that your spirit guides are saying, we really appreciate you for this, pile 1, because, you know, as we all know in our world, unfortunately, a lot of people don't stand up for justice when they should. You know, a lot of people are selfish, or, you know, they don't, they fear the consequences of doing the right thing, unfortunately, but that's just how our earth works, right? But you're one of those rare people, pile 1, they're saying, that does what's right anyways, okay? So, a Rebel and an Avenger. Let's grab your Citadel Oracle as well. I already like this pile a lot. So, definitely not afraid to speak your mind. Stick up for the right thing. Okay, how many cards is that? Is that 3? Oh boy. I hope I can fit everything on the desk here. So you have 3 Citadel Oracle cards. Okay, we'll take them, of course. We have, the Warrior, Perfectionism, and Burnout with the element of air. Okay, so a bit of a warrior. Of course, you think of a warrior as someone who is very more in your face about the things that they're standing up for or fighting for. Okay, so that almost kind of speaks to me once again of that not being afraid to stand up for people and saying, here's the right thing that we need to do, even when it's an unpopular thing to say. So we have Warrior. Okay, actually, I'm going to move... let's move this one down here. And we'll kind of adjust everything as we go along. Pile 1. I apologize. You're always kind of my guinea pig pile for figuring out where to put everything. So I'll put Warrior there. And then we have, it looks like, the Tailor, Attention to Detail and Pride with the element of water. So... let's see. The Tailor, Attention to Detail and Pride. So someone who's very good with their hands as well. Okay. Doesn't necessarily mean that you work with yarn or needlework or sewing. Maybe you do, pile 1, but your spirit guides are saying that with bringing up the Tailor, it's like they view you as someone who has a lot of pride with the things that they do. Okay. Like, if you're going to put your name on it, you're going to make sure it's really good. And then even that kind of ties to the burnout message and perfectionism of the warrior with attention to detail. You don't do things... I don't know if I can say this on YouTube. Well, I'll say half-aid. You kind of know what I mean, pile 1, but you don't do things half-aid at all. And that's another thing that they really admire you for is what they're saying. And then last but not least, we have, another air. Archer. Biding your time and planning ahead. You're very clever, pile 1. You're very good about planning towards the future. In fact, some of you, and it's funny because none of you got the earth element, but a lot of you are giving me like Virgo vibes, because like every Virgo I've ever met in life has been very like organized and attention to detail, and this just like screams Virgo to me. So maybe a little bit of Libra too with the justice scales thing, but yeah, very pinpoint on your accuracy, very focused, very goal oriented. Very intelligent too, pile 1, because someone that knows how to plan ahead and is very attuned to the attention to detail is someone who is very intelligent, pile 1. I mean, we also have 2 air signs here with the 2 Citadel Oracle cards on each side. And that to me speaks once again, because at least in cardomancy, air is the element of someone who is intelligent and logical, okay? I think that's another aspect that your spirit guides really admire you for is that logical mind, pile 1, okay? So they view you as someone who, and maybe that's why you kind of can see through the crap of society, is because you are really logical and common sense about it. You're like, so society does this thing, but it doesn't make any sense, and it's morally wrong. So why the heck does society do it? And it's like those types of thoughts might go through your mind a lot. Like, why the heck does society do this thing? That just isn't great, right? You're not afraid to ask those questions. You're not afraid to logically think through the meanings. You know, you almost kind of have, I'm hearing like an analytical mind too that they really admire, pile 1, okay? So not only are you the hero that doesn't look back when the explosion is going on behind them, you're a rebel with a cause, just kind of summarizing everything so far. You're someone who stands up for justice. You're someone who is very attuned to detail and skilled, I'm seeing and hearing, okay? Independent, march to the beat of your own drum. And as well with the warrior, you're someone who is bold. You're not afraid to be bold and speak out about it, is what they're saying that they really admire you for, okay? And then we also have, that's right, we have the Wild Harmonics. And of course, we will also draw tarot cards, pile 1. So, Spirit Guides with the Wild Harmonics Oracle. Can you give us one card that explains more, even on top of everything? How do you see them as a hero? You know, I almost wonder if you do like superhero comics and movies, pile 1. Like, do you watch a lot of Marvel movies, potentially? Because you did get the, like, literally the Avenger. Like, it's like the superhero card. Very interesting. Ooh, Fire of Shadow, Snuffed Out. Interesting. You got a shadow card. Let's read that. And once again, you got another element. We've had fire. With this one, we've had water and we've had air. No earth so far, which is funny because, like I said, I feel like a lot of you are Virgos. But Snuffed Out, Fire of Shadow. Very interesting card. Because typically this card would mean someone who... Oh, well, you know, you did get burnout with the warrior. And we have snuffed out here with fire of shadow, like shadow extinguishing the fire, like a candle going out with the picture. So I think at pile 1, this is almost, because, not every hero is perfect, right? Every hero has a flaw. You read a story, you watch a movie, whatever medium you're digesting, a protagonist through, they always have a little bit of a flaw. So I guess your heroic flaw, what they're saying here, pile 1, is that they see sometimes maybe you burn out a little bit too much. I think they're saying, not you're heroic, don't get me wrong. Like, this is the way that they described you. But at the same time, maybe you push yourself a little bit too hard. You're the hero that kind of doesn't stop even when they should rest to get some self-care. Or, and maybe that's literally why me time came up. Because it's almost like a piece of advice card here, pile 1. Put the brakes on a little bit. You don't need to solve every societal problem within a day. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Pile 1. So maybe you tend towards a little bit of burnout. You're like a superhero that just doesn't sleep, okay? Like, just doesn't rest. You're like, well, justice has to be done or needs to be done. And it's like your spirit guides are saying, well, wait, you don't have to do everything alone, and you do need to also take care of yourself. So I almost see that as kind of a little bit of your heroic flaws. You push yourself too much sometimes, and it burns yourself out, okay? So very interesting. Very dedicated is another word coming through, especially with all the burnout and snuff out kind of imagery here. Very cool. And I wish I knew more about Marvel movies to actually compare you to a specific superhero, but unfortunately, I haven't really watched a lot of Marvel movies, which I know is weird in our modern culture because they're really popular, but I just haven't really seen a lot. So anyone down in the comments below that is familiar with Marvel, feel free to bring up a hero that reminds you of pile 1. But so spirit guides for pile 1. Can you grab some tarot cards for us that explains more about how are they heroic in your eyes? I'm going to laugh really hard if you get the 10 of Wands reversed. We'll see. So the first card is, Temperance reversed. Okay, writing balance. Remember we talked about that sense of justice, pile 1? Temperance usually can mean moderation, but I also see it sometimes as a card of just balance in general. Not exactly like justice, which I also would not be surprised if you get that card, but needing more moderation with things, yeah. I mean, that could also speak to the burnout as well. We'll see what else pops out. We have, the artist. So a little bit of someone who has artistic ability. So whatever creative projects you have or hobbies you're interested in, pile 1, your spirit guides also view you as heroic for those things. Okay. Could be literally like dance, like I was saying at the very beginning of the reading. Maybe that is your art. We have the Knight of Wands. Yep, that does not surprise me whatsoever, pile 1. Very, very action-oriented with the things that you're passionate about, okay? Yes, very passionate. You're not going to stand idly by. We also have another knight, interesting, but this time it's the Knight of Swords. Okay, so that might also be, and this is reversed, might be another little heroic flaw, is that maybe sometimes you're so eager to champion a cause that maybe you speak a little bit too soon. But that's actually, like, they were saying before, that's a really good quality, pile 1, because they said you're the one who's actually willing to speak up. But sometimes maybe, and I've been there myself, pile 1, so you're not alone in this, but you see something and you're like, I gotta say something, but maybe sometimes it's gotten you into some trouble with that Knight of Swords reversed. And then last but not least, we have the Five of Cups reversed. Okay, overcoming sadness. I think you deal with sadness very well too, pile 1. No matter, what kind of comes along your way. I think that's hearkening back to, remember the very beginning of the reading I said, I was like, I got the word graceful, like a graceful dancer. You know how to handle things like the river flowing around the rock obstacle in their way. That's that Five of Cups reversed to me, which is very interesting because there's literally a river in the background of the card. Speaking of symbolism, okay. You roll with the punches. You know how to hit the ground running, okay. And I'm not saying that, like, there has never been a sadness that's gotten you down in your life, pile 1, because that's everybody who's ever lived a life on Earth, of course. But it's like you especially just know how to pick up and get running. You don't let things get you down too long, and your spirit guides are also commending you for that. So very, very fiery, passionate energy here, because not only, we had Fire of Shadow with the snuffed out, we had Knight of Wands, which is fire, but we also have a lot with air. Okay. Maybe sometimes to a flawed point, maybe speaking a little bit too fast on things, but mostly they commend you for that, though, like I said, pile 1, because they're like, I get why you're speaking up, but... So if there's any time in your life, pile 1, where like you felt like, oh God, I spoke too soon, actually your spirit guides do admire you a lot for your willingness to speak up. So don't beat yourself up too much for that Knight of Swords reversed energy, but maybe it has led to some oopsies in the past. I get you. I've been there myself, like I said. And then, we talked about the artist. I won't repeat that one too much. I think you're very artistic, and they really see that too. And that doesn't just mean, literally picking up a paintbrush, pile 1. That can mean creativity in any manner, okay? Even something, that seems as uncreative as the hobby of... I can't even think of a hobby that's uncreative. But in general, whatever your creativity is, they think you're heroic for that too. I think maybe because there's a part of what you do with your creative skills that ties to that sense of justice. And then, the temperance is really interesting too, pile 1, because that is reversed, and it's all about a lack of balance usually when it's reversed. So that can speak to maybe a little bit about burning yourself out too much with everything that you try to fix and stand up for. So maybe they're warning you about... tone that down a little bit just for your own self-care's sake, pile 1. But I can also see this as a tarot reader as meaning you're someone that likes to right things that are out of balance, okay? You like to keep things balanced. Maybe even in the way of, for some reason I'm hearing something about interior decorating. Like you really like symmetry and balance in your interior decorating. You don't necessarily like things that are avant-garde. You like things with more order, okay? Maybe even a little bit of like minimalism, maybe more, I'm not very well versed with different interior decorating terms. It's never really been my forte, but you kind of know what I mean, right, pile 1? Especially next to the artist, it's like writing balance in terms of creativity, okay? Finding order in the chaotic universe. Making it make sense, making society make sense. Especially when society is not common sense. As we all know, it tends not to be sometimes. So overall, pile 1, just to summarize everything so far, you, in your spirit guide's eyes, are the type of hero that is not afraid to speak up for what's right. You're not afraid to stand up alone. I see it in an independent streak in you too that they're really commending you for. To the point of you're so justice-oriented and so focused on the goal of I need to do the right thing or make sure that the right thing gets done, that it has been to your own detriment at times, okay? Which is a double-edged sword. That can be good in the way of you probably get a lot done, but it also can burn yourself out, or maybe it's had consequences with things that you've said in the past to people. Which is unfortunate, pile 1, because really, if something is common sense and it's the right thing to do, why would that ever be controversial? But as we all know, sometimes it is, because someone that is not being justice-oriented is on the receiving end of it, okay? So in that way, it's almost like, your heroic flaw. But it's not really a flaw. It's just a consequence, right, of doing the right thing. Which, doing the right thing, pile 1, is never the wrong thing. So commend yourself for that, even if you've kind of beat yourself up a little bit in the past for having, maybe sometimes people tell you that you're hot-headed. Maybe sometimes people tell you that, to kind of like cool your jets about something, but we need people like you in the world, pile 1, is what your spirit guides are saying. And I'm saying that too personally, because sometimes people just sit on the back burner. They don't really stand up for the right things like you do. So please do more of that. And then we also had a little bit of a trend here with your Citadel Oracle cards about someone who's very goal-oriented, someone who's very detail-oriented as well. A little bit of a perfectionism streak, perhaps. But that attention to detail is really good because that's what makes you so skilled, okay? You don't just have a cause. You know exactly how to plan the steps to achieving that cause, too. So I see someone who's intelligent, very logical thinker, very smart, right? Or is that what your spirit guides are also saying? So, yeah, that's how they see you, pile 1, in terms of, if you were a hero or a protagonist in a novel or a movie, or like, say, a superhero in a Marvel movie, just using, because Avenger did come out, right? Yeah, that's how they would see you. That's the kind of superhero that you would be in a story. So, or, say a protagonist in a fantasy novel or in a thriller or crime, whatever genre you might prefer, right? Mystery, science fiction, whatever, romance. Yeah. So really, really, really cool pile one. And I hope that reading was enjoyable to you. I hope it brought a smile to your face. And if you liked it and it resonated, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition, my very justice-oriented pile ones, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Keep being you. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile one. Hello there, my awesome pile number 2. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about what makes you a hero in your spirit guide's eyes. And as you recall, the pile leader you were drawn to was number 41. You hold the key to an awakened life. Set yourself free. So right off the bat, just with this card pile 2, before I even turned on the recording, I meditated on it a little bit. And what intuitively came through for you was I got the sense your spirit guides were saying that you are a truth seeker. That was the term that came through, especially with the imagery of the light, and it's almost like someone sleeping under like the rising sun here, or it could be a setting sun too, like I said in the intro, but in either case, in cartomancy, light tends to represent truth, so truth seeking. I think you're someone who really values the truth, who really desires knowledge, okay? Almost like, kind of like what it says here, pile 2. You hold the key to an awakened life. So basically a life of enlightenment, of knowing, of understanding. So I get the sense that your spirit guides are saying you're heroic for your curious mind, okay? It also speaks of intelligence, too, because people that seek answers tend to be people that are intelligent because they don't just accept things at face value. They want to track down the truth like a bloodhound, sniff it out and see what is the answer, what is the light in the situation. So that's the first thing popping out. Truth seekers. It's kind of what I'm saying. So let's also grab some other cards. We're actually going to start with Oracle cards today. And right off the bat, let's do the archetypes because is a very perfect deck for this kind of reading. So spirit guides for pile 2. Could you please provide us with 1 or maybe 2 archetypes? How do you see them as a hero? How are they heroic in your eyes? Okay, that was quick. 2 just like came flying out. Right on top of the others. Yes, 2. So first up you have, goddess. Light attribute, the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. And typically I do read the shadow attribute down here, but this is a reading about how do your spirit guides view you in a heroic way. So we're just focusing on the light attributes. So you have goddess, feminine power. Okay. And I swear to God, okay. Pile 2, there's a little bit of a story behind this card, okay? Literally for pile 1, and you saw me shuffle the deck, they got the same exact card. But you know what's even funnier? The fact that it says Avenger, and of course, as we all know, who have lived through the past 10 years or so, that is just like, it kind of feels like a reference to like Marvel superheroes, which is just like super fitting for this reading. But yeah, so pile 1 also got this. You got Avenger, which says light attributes, desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. So literally like you got the superhero card, which I guess the spirit guides have a sense of humor today, but they do mean it because it does talk about wanting to stand up for society, okay? Righteousness, justice. So once again, like pile 1, you're justice-oriented is another thing that they're saying, okay? A superhero in your own way. An Avenger, right? And then, yes, very interestingly, we have goddess, which is that feminine energy. So, you might not be, like, in a very direct way. Pile 1 was very direct in the way that they stood up for things or were very justice-oriented. I think because of the goddess coming out, that speaks to me more of feminine energy, like it says. And feminine energy, as we all know, is more about nurturing and receptivity and more passive things, which doesn't mean that it's not powerful, pile 2. Whatsoever. Masculine and feminine energy are both powerful in their own ways. But that tends to mean to me as a tarot reader that your heroicness, I guess, is more in a subtle way. It's not quite as blatant like pile one's was. You're an avenger in the quiet way. So I almost wonder, I get the feeling, pile two, that your spirit guides are telling me that like you get justice or karma in ways that people don't expect, or like they don't even know. Like, I'm trying to think of a really good example, and this might not exactly apply to you, pile two, but this is just for my example. Okay, so say like you work at a certain workplace where let's say you figured out that someone in your department was trying to sabotage someone else, and you realized what was going on, and that the way that they were sabotaging this other person was that they were withholding information that would really help them get their job done well. So it's like they were trying to make them look bad on purpose. Your subtle sense of justice, to me, at least the example that's coming through intuitively, is like you'd be the type of person that wouldn't necessarily confront the person trying to sabotage someone else, but you'd go to the person that was the victim and you'd subtly slide them the information yourself. So it's like karma in just a very indirect way. Like, I feel like you're kind of underhanded that way, but like it's a good thing though, pile two. That's what your spirit guides are saying. They appreciate that about you. So you almost kind of come off to me as like a mechanism of the universe's karma or justice that people just don't expect, or maybe they don't even know. Because even in that example I just used, figuratively speaking, like, people might not even know that you were the one that did it, or at least the person trying to sabotage the other person in that example would not know. They'd be like, well, how the heck did the person I was trying to sabotage just completely, my plans got foiled, right? Like, it's almost kind of like you're the type of person that, like a Scooby-Doo villain would be like, and I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for pile two, right? So that's kind of what I'm hearing, is just that more, like, it's very odd. Like, I want to say assassin or ninja, like political intrigue almost. Like, you're very subtle about it. But, like, and I know it's like a negative connotation when I say political intrigue or assassin. Like, you're not bad in that way is what I'm saying. But, like, you know exactly where to stick a little dagger when there's karma that's necessary is what I'm hearing. And your spirit guides are saying that they admire you for that. That's kind of like more your brand of Avenger. Okay. And like I said to pile one, unfortunately, I haven't actually watched a lot of Marvel movies. I wasn't really drawn to superheroes as much. So if anyone down in the comments below like knows a Marvel superhero or even DC superhero, I suppose, that matches that more, like they're very subtle or like sly about the way that they get justice, feel free to comment down below, because I'd be curious to see what you guys say. Yeah, so that's really cool. Feminine energy, too. And then also, too, like, feminine energy with the goddess can mean that you're heroic in the way of nurturing others. I see that you are maybe more of a soft, nurturing soul to people and to animals, maybe even perhaps, because it also says nature, okay? Maybe you're even a gardener, because there's also a little bit of a flower imagery here. It looks like there's vines all around her and like plant filigree on the pillows that she's laying on. It almost looks like rose petals as well. So yeah, just goddess energy, okay? Powerful feminine is what that means. So, nurturing. And truth-seeking, remember we said with your pile leaders. So let's grab something from the Citadel Oracle, see what else they... Okay, pile one also got the Tailor. Very interesting. So we have the Tailor. Attention to detail and pride. We have the water element with this card. So it could be that you work with your hands, pile two, or your hobby is related to yarn or like sewing craft, things like that, embroidery, whatnot. But in general, you do things with pride. You do things with attention to detail. I'll say what I said to pile one as well that got this literally exact same card. That you don't do anything, and I wish I could say the whole thing, but it's YouTube. You don't do anything half-aid, right? And you kind of know what I mean when I say that, so. And then I'm going to pick this card as well. The Pilgrim. Opportunities and growth with the element of Earth. The Pilgrim. Opportunities and growth. Once again, we have someone almost kind of tending flowers up here, so that makes me think of like a gardener for some reason. But also pilgrims are people that set out and they journey, and they're not afraid to make those journeys, hence opportunities and growth. So I think you're kind of a self-starter too, pile two. You're not afraid to go where no one else has gone before, is what I'm hearing. You're not afraid to look for opportunities and pounce on them before anyone else has even realized that it's a good idea, okay? I think that speaks to that intelligence I was talking about before. You're really good about seeing opportunities where other people just it just blurs to them and they don't really recognize it. So it's like that cleverness. Yeah. Very interesting. And also we have that shedding light imagery again too, like I was saying. I was like, I feel like you're a truth seeker with the light rising here above the pile leader you chose. You have a lantern literally in the pilgrim. Shining light. I wonder if you'll get the Hermit card in tarot, because the Hermit card in tarot, when I do those cards, they typically hold a lantern, the Hermit does, so. And your wild harmonics is, look at that. You got water, you got earth, you got water of earth here in the wild harmonics, nourishing roots. Okay, so once again, we have a nurturing vibe. We have, where the material of earth meets the nurturing and the emotions, the relationships of water. Okay. You're a nurturer. You're a healer, pile 2 is another heroic aspect that but spirit guides are talking about here. Once again, makes me also think of just a gardener, because it talks about nourishing roots, right? Duh. But in general, it's like you're someone who is nurturing to other people, okay? I think, that shines in that feminine energy we were talking about here with goddess, okay? I think, too, like, you're probably good with kids, is what I'm also hearing, or animals was another one we talked about earlier. You know how to bring things to life. Maybe even where that opportunity thing comes in, too. Maybe you have seen ways in that, like, it's like opportunities that other people thought were dead, or like, oh, that's something that's not to invest in, like, there's no point in it. But then it's like you see that thing that other people just toss to the side, and you're like, I can make something out of this. Right? Like, I'm not just going to toss it out like other people do. And that's another way that your cleverness shines, I think, pile 2. Okay. Very beautiful. And I think, too, in your relationships and your social groups, you tend to be a stabilizer. Because that's what I also think of when I think of roots. Like someone who puts down the roots that makes things stable, okay, so that things can grow. Especially with the connection of the way that water and cartomancy typically pertains to emotions and our relationships with other people. Okay, so I think you're also really good in relationships. I think you're a good friend, pile 2. I also think you're good in romantic relationships, okay, especially when it comes to that nurturing feminine energy, right? Very interesting. Let's grab your tarot cards. So, odd how similar cards come out. Because, like I said, pile 1 had the Tailor and the Avenger as well. I think sometimes when we see a lot of shared cards, it's like just a collectivity of our community that watches on Lone Pine Tarot here, but being souls of kin, I guess is how I would describe it. Let's see, the Hanged Man. Yeah, seeing things from different perspectives. And look, once again, we almost have like a halo or a rising sun around his head, which is literally kind of what it means, pile 2. Different perspectives, seeing things in a different way. Truth-seeking, okay? Curious, you're open-minded. You don't just take things at face value that most other people do. Your spirit guides are saying you're heroic in the way that you're open-minded. You're like, let's look at this from every single angle. Analytical, right? Logical, smart. We have the 6 of Wands. Beautiful. I think you have a lot of successes under your belt too, pile 2, okay? 6 of Wands is all about victory, being successful at things, okay? And 2, that might manifest in many different ways in your life, pile 2, but with it being the Wands, which is fire in tarot, that means typically your ambitions. So I think whatever you set out to do, you're pretty dang good at it, pile 2, okay? I think you're really, really, really good at whatever you set your mind to. So let's see. We also have the Fool reversed, okay? And we have that rising sun imagery again. Look at that. And I know it's actually a rising sun because the Fool is the first card in tarot. It's 0, literally. Well, the beginning and the end, right? Because 0 is infinity. It isn't the start. It isn't the end. But what the Fool reversed means, pile 2, is sometimes it can mean being... and this happened with pile 1, too. This reading kind of maybe leans into heroic flaws as well. And the Fool reversed can mean that sometimes maybe we take a little bit too much risk. It's like, I know earlier I was saying, I think you're really good about seeing opportunities, but maybe in the past at least, it's led to some pitfalls. Because you're like, I see an opportunity where no one else does. And then you go after it, and then you're like, oh, whoops, okay, maybe that wasn't the best risk to take. But I think it's benefited you a lot at times, though, pile 2, because... yeah, maybe you had some risks that were, oopsies. I went a little bit too fast on that. But I think a lot of times it's benefited you, especially because of the Six of Wands. Like, it's almost like being next to the Fool reversed pile too, where others, like, should have failed if they had tried the same things that you did. You don't. Like, it's almost like a string of luck, I feel like. Like, I feel like you're really lucky in that way. But it's not luck because it's not like you don't deserve it. It's not like it's not on your own merit pile too. Like, you deserve it because this is like your skills, obviously. But at the same time, it's like, maybe to other people you come off as like, well, dang, pile 2 is so lucky. Like, how are they so skilled? Or why does it always work out for them? Okay. So there's a little bit of a luck element here too. And then your 4th card is the 3 of Cups reversed. Very interesting. Earlier I was talking about, I was like, I feel like you cement social groups, but the 3 of Cups can mean issues with social groups sometimes too. Maybe that's because you are such a harmonizing element in your relationship groups pile too, that, people that are seeking chaos or disharmony, like, they know they can't really get anything past you. And maybe that even harkens too to like you being that subtle mechanism of karma for the universe, like almost in like a quiet ninja-like way that we were talking about earlier. Okay. So sometimes that might lead you to feeling a little bit discontented with the way social groups are, because you might see flaws that other people just don't recognize or realize. But that's because of the quality of your mind pile too, where you're really good at truth-seeking, using that term once again. You're good at seeing things the way that they are, looking for that light. Okay, and once again, we even literally have light and halos around the heads of the 3 of Cups figures here. And then last but not least, we have the 9 of Wands. Okay, you know what that means, pile 2? You can see this figure. He only has one wand in his hand, and he's surrounded by other wands. He's defending himself, and he's got a bandage over his head. That's the card of determination even when things get tough. Because look at him, he's already wounded, but he's not giving up. He's still got the wand in his hand. He's like, I'm going to keep defending. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so I also see someone here, pile 2, that is determined. Someone who is very, almost stubborn, but in a positive way, with a good connotation with that stubbornness, okay? So hard of head where it matters is another way that your spirit guides see you as heroic. So yeah, look at that, pile 2. Very interesting. Very brilliant people. Very skilled people. Okay. I think that also not just because of the 6 of Wands meaning victory, but the Taylor talked about like attention to detail. Okay. Light bringers, right, is another word I would use for you, or term. And yeah, I just still find it funny that Avenger came out for you too. Because literally I was like, how are they heroic? And they literally bring out like the superhero card. I'm like, okay, that's funny, spirit guides, haha. But they do mean it because it's like that justice orientedness that we talked about earlier. So very interesting reading. Very interesting reading, pile 2. Making sure I'm not missing anything here. So we talked about your feminine energy and your nurturing. Yes, that's a very strong quality of yours, pile 2. And your truth-seeking, we discussed. Your attention to detail, we talked about. Your skill, your ability to see things with different perspectives, okay? I think some of you might be, if not as your career, pile 2, you do have an interest in, like, sciences. If in like a material way, or you have an interest in spirituality in a more intangible way. It's like whatever path you choose, be it through science or through spirituality, that's like how you look for your truth. That's how you quench that thirst of curiosity in your mind, I feel like. Or maybe even both, okay? Because it might be that, because of all the like enlightenment and like light related symbolism, it's like no matter what area of your life, it's like you look for that light, that truth. Okay, so one minute you might be, looking at a microscope, and the next minute you might be, reading something about Buddhism and gaining enlightenment that way, or whatever your particular spirituality you're exploring is at the time, just using Buddhism as an example, right? And that's rare, pile 2, because a lot of people kind of get entrenched in either. They get really super entrenched in the material things with science, or they get really super entrenched in the spiritual things with just spirituality. But I think you're really good about balancing those two things, is what your spirit guides are saying, okay? Seeing with those different perspectives, hearkening back to the Hanged Man, of every different angle in which life can be viewed, okay? At one moment viewing life as we're biological organisms living out our short lives on this little rock, okay? Or seeing it in a spiritual way of we are spiritual beings inhabiting a temporary physical body, learning lessons before we go home, okay? I feel like you understand it from both sides. You feel just as comfortable in a group of scientists as you would in a group of spiritual people, okay? Monks, priests, insert spiritual person title here, right? So, once again, that just harkens back to your intelligence pile too, because I think it really, if I had to define intelligence with a different word, it would be the open-mindedness that you have. I think open-mindedness really is the true smart intelligence of life. So it's like intelligence in a wise way is what I'm hearing. Very beautiful. So that is how your spirit guides see you, at least in the way of what makes you a hero in their eyes pile too. So I hope you really liked that reading. I hope it brought a smile to your face. You know, if you liked it and if it did resonate, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on the channel, my wonderful truth seekers with the powerful feminine energy, and apparently very skilled and intelligent, right? I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, Pile 2. Hello there, my awesome Pile number 3. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about what makes you a hero in your spirit guide's eyes. As you recall, the pile leader you were drawn to was number 18, Knights of the Round Table, with the tagline of Let Their Love Lift You Higher. And right off the bat, before I even turned on the recording, I kind of meditated on each pile leader today. And the phrase that came out for you, Pile 3, was someone who is very heroic in the way that they touch other people's lives, okay? I think there's a part of you, and it doesn't even matter if you say you are introverted, Pile 3, because you can touch lives even when you're introverted, okay? Maybe even in ways that you don't necessarily recognize on the surface, because sometimes it doesn't even take a single word to another person to affect them in a positive way. But yes, what I am hearing with your pile leader today, Pile 3, is you are heroic in the way that you touch other people's lives. Also, especially in the way that you make connections with other people, okay? I think you also tend to heroically view like other people and society in general in a way of like a collectivist, like, let's all get along, let's all support each other. I see you as someone who is very, teamwork oriented. And I don't mean that in, like, the weird corporate office way. I mean that in the actual, like, deep down, genuine, you care about other people and helping them way, okay? And I think that's another way that you've touched other people's lives in the way that makes you heroic in the eyes of your spirit guides, okay? So, kind of a... what's the word? It's a phrase that's often used in storytelling. Kind of an everyman is what I'm hearing for you. And an everyman is kind of like the type of hero who is the unexpected hero, the subtle hero. The type of hero that doesn't necessarily, like, you know, wear a bright red cape to stand out. But they are heroic, even though technically they might kind of fly under the radar, okay? So I'll set your pile leader over here to the left. And let's start the reading with your Archetypes cards. Now, I'm very interested, Pile 3, because Pile 1 and 2 both got the card Avenger with the Archetypes card today. And of course, all of you are familiar with like the last 10 years of pop culture. Literally, like, this is a reading about how are you a hero in your spirit guide's eyes, and Avenger is literally like a Marvel superhero reference. And so I was like, well, that's funny. Like, I guess, you know, they have a sense of humor, but we'll see if you get Avenger too. I'm gonna laugh really hard if you do, because then I'll just know that collectively, I guess, spirit guides were having a sense of humor today. But Let's grab actually 2. We have, the athlete. Very interesting. We'll talk about that in just a second. And also a lot of purple. And purple in tarot, cardomancy, just color symbolism in general, tends to mean someone who's very spiritually attuned, very spiritually gifted, okay? So, and this is something that didn't even come out with the other piles today, pile 3, is I think of all the piles today, you're the most spiritually gifted. Okay, because of the prevalence of purple. And then let's grab your second card here. We have interesting bully. Okay, and don't run away from the reading just yet because it says bully. We'll talk about that. But so you did not get Avenger like the other 2 did, but I guess your spirit guides were more serious today. And we're going to be very, I don't want to say classy because the Avenger thing was funny, but anyways. Yeah, so athlete and bully. So, but we won't talk about the shadow attributes today because we're just talking about the way that your spirit guides view you positively. So light attributes, dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower, and strength of spirit. So we have that spiritual ability strength we were just talking about. But also, I don't know if you're very active, pile 3. I don't know if maybe, especially when you were young, you were in a lot of sports and you achieved a lot in that way. Or maybe, it doesn't necessarily even have to be, in a way of, you went into a sport and you got a gold medal or whatever. It can also mean, like it says, overcoming handicaps. Like, for example, like, say you had asthma as a child, and even though you had asthma, you worked through it and became someone who was good at running. Just as an example, it might not exactly apply to you. So whatever it is, it's like your ability to power through things with that willpower, like it says, and that strength of spirit, being strong even when the going gets tough, okay? So that is your first archetypes. Then we have bully. Very interesting. Highlights your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. Okay, so once again, we have a strength of spirit kind of message here. Being able to power through your fears. So it almost seems like they view you as fearless, pile 3. Okay. And also it says to intimidate others. Now that doesn't necessarily mean a flaw. Because intimidating others doesn't mean that it's your fault, pile 3. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that you intimidate them for a bad reason. I think the way that you are fearless and the way that you power through things actually intimidates others in the way of like they're like, I don't know how pile 3 like gets through those things. I don't know how they just get going. Like, I'm trying to think of like a really good example that's tangible. Like, this sounds almost kind of drastic, but we'll just use this as an example. Pile 3. It's like a group of people watching you not only walking on like a tightrope, but say like you're walking on a tightrope over fire, and most people would be like, oh my god, I would never do that. Or say like maybe skydiving is another like extreme sport that people tend to be afraid of, right? And you're just like, I want to try that. I know it's scary, but I'm going to work over my fears and I'm going to get through it. So it's almost like in that way that you're intimidating is what I'm hearing, pile 3. You're intimidating because of your resolve and because of your bravery is another really good word to use. Courage is another synonym I'll use that I'm hearing coming through from your spirit guides. Okay. And then 2, with bully, it's very interesting because the color of the card is blue and the element is air, because you can see it's like a cloud blowing air out. And then, even just like the action of the air coming out of the throat of the cloud makes me think of the throat chakra, right? And the throat chakra is about the way that we speak, especially when it comes to speaking our truth, okay? Not being unwilling to say things, being willing to speak from the heart, okay? So I think in that way, too, you're a good communicator. You might even be an air sign, pile 3, or you might have a lot of air sign placements in your astrological chart. And maybe that's even the way that you intimidate others, too, is your willingness to say things. You kind of remind me of pile 1 that way. Sometimes it got them in trouble, I think, but sometimes, we need people in the world that know how to say things and know, like, to stand up for things, okay? That aren't afraid to stand up and speak truth, because as we all know in society that, not enough people stand up for truth. Not enough people are willing to say things. We have a lot of blocked throat chakras in the world, so it's very good of you, your spirit guides are saying, and me saying personally as well, that you are someone who is willing to speak up. So let's grab some Citadel cards as well. How are you viewed as a hero? Okay. Okay, Okay, well, I can't take all of these cards because I would run out of room on the table, but I will for sure take these, and then I am going to take this one right here. We'll take 3 of them. Okay. So let's view your Citadel Oracle cards, pile 3. We have, the Puppeteer, Explanations and Apologies with the Element of Water. What an interesting card for this reading. Explanations and Apologies. Well, it does speak of an ability to communicate, because both explanations and apologies are throat chakra things, right? Things you say, things you communicate. Let's see here. Puppeteer. I'm going to look at your other Citadel Oracle cards before I look into that one too much, because I'm curious. Very interesting. We have the Sentinel, okay, with the element of air. Amor fati, which I think means love and fate in Latin. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it says determination and certainty. Very interesting. I think that is related to that athlete energy of, it says like personal willpower and strength of spirit, pile 3. You're determined, you're fearless, you're willing to break through what makes you scared and do something anyways, which is rare in this world, pile 3, as you all know. And then we have, last but not least, I swear to God. Okay, so I know earlier I said every single pile got Avenger today with the Archetypes card. Every single pile today got the Tailor as well. Okay. Or, well, you didn't get Avenger, but every single pile today got Tailor. We have another water card. It says attention to detail and pride. So apparently in our community, we're all very attention to detail oriented and proud people. But that is really cool. I love how, and you saw me shuffle, I swear to God. So it's like your spirit guides view you as someone who is detail-oriented, someone who is, and it's very interesting too because the Tailor and the Puppeteer both have kind of like dexterity-related imagery with the hands, like the Tailor holding the string and the scissors, and then the Puppeteer holding the string that holds the people on the string, the puppets, I should say. And so it's almost like, I don't know if you do like yarn work or needlecraft, pile 3, or like you're really good about following threads. And what I mean by that is it's almost like you... Well, it speaks of an intelligence, number 1. But it also speaks of someone that is willing to, like, see the truth underneath, like, the whole picture. Like, being able to pick out details, hence, you know, like, attention to detail. But intuitively, like, the imagery coming forward is I almost think of a tapestry, and it's like you being able to follow that one string throughout the tapestry. Like, really honing in on core truths to, like, an entire situation. Like, some people might just look at the tapestry and be like, oh, like, that's a pretty landscape of whatever is on there, say, I don't know, tapestry of a unicorn. I'm thinking like like I've seen medieval tapestries with like unicorns on them before, just to use that example. But it's like you're able to pick out that one thread and like see how it's kind of woven through. Like the truth in life is kind of what I'm saying that's like a metaphor for. Okay. And then too with like I'm drawn to explanations with that kind of theme of like following the thread through life. Like understanding things at a very core, deep level to the finest grain of kernel of truth, okay? Very interesting. And going back to the Puppeteer, because I promised that we would, I think that what I'm hearing is it almost is related to that message I heard with your Knights of the Round Table pile leader for you, pile 3, whereas like I think you're really good about the way that you touch other people's lives and connect to others, okay? And I know like Puppeteer typically has like a negative connotation because we think, oh, someone who's like manipulative or like controls people, but I almost see it in the way that you touch people's lives and are instrumental in social groups because it's like you see the truth about other people before they even do. Going back to that message of like seeing the deep threads in something instead of just the whole picture. And you help them in the way that you help them realize those truths with a subtle approach, okay? Like you don't just say bluntly to their face, hey, this is the truth of this thing that you're asking me about, or, oh, do you ever notice this about yourself? Okay. It's like you almost kind of subtly guide them along with little breadcrumbs, which, like, it sounds manipulative, pile 3, but it's really not, because I think you do it for their benefit, because you know that if you bluntly came out and said, here's the truth of this thing, people might get upset or they might disagree, but it's like, you know exactly how to help them arrive to the conclusion themselves, almost in the way that it makes them think it's their own idea. And that's how you touch their lives, is what I'm hearing. So it's like your spirit guides are saying that you're heroic in that way because, I mean, I almost kind of see it as like a mentor-apprentice type relationship that you have to other people. Like, you know how, think of like an example of like a mentor and apprentice in media. Like, oh, what's a really good example? I'm trying to think of, I keep thinking of, like, Gandalf and Frodo, but I guess he technically really wasn't, like a straight-up mentor to Frodo. It was more like he was the wise wizard, right? So, it's kind of like that wise sage trope, but I guess what I'm trying to say, pile 3, is it's like you are like that sage, wise mentor that doesn't directly say to people, hey, here's the truth, here's the light I'm trying to shed to you. You help them arrive at that conclusion themselves, in which case it's like you're really good about teaching other people how to find truth in their own lives, okay? Is another way that they're saying that you're heroic. And I think, because for a while it was kind of fuzzy. It was like, well, how exactly does pile 3 really, like, connect to other people? How do they help people, like we saw with Knights of the Round Table? And I'm like, I think that's what it is. Okay. You're good about helping them see the truth. And thinking that they found it themselves, when really you kind of knew all along, but you're like, I'll let them arrive at that conclusion themselves. Because, you know, as we all know, I think people are more willing to entertain ideas if they think that they're their own, or that they came up with them first. So I think, too, that kind of speaks of a really deep understanding of people in general, pile 3. You almost kind of give me, like if we're using Myers-Briggs personality types, God, you're almost like an INFJ or an INFP. Like, you're technically maybe more introverted, most of you, but at the same time, it's like you're really people understanding and oriented. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Let's grab your wild harmonics here. How else are you heroic in your spirit guide's eyes? Being the sage, wise mentor. And then we have another imagery of an eye. You had an eye here in the hand of the puppeteer, but you also have an eye here as well. We have water of fire, subconscious reflection. Yeah, that's kind of what I was already saying. And I'm sorry it's kind of repetitive, pile 3, but it's like you understand the deep, passionate truth about things underneath the surface. Subconscious reflection. You know more about people than they know about themselves before they even can glimpse the truth. Okay. I think you're good, once again, seeing, you know, the truth underneath things in general as well, like that, you know, thread in the tapestry metaphor that we used. And I think, too, this speaks to your spiritual abilities that we discussed earlier as well with all the purple imagery that came out. Subconscious reflection makes me think someone who's really good about, like, meditating. Someone who is very good at maybe even astral projection is kind of something I'm hearing. Or if you have not done that, maybe look into that. It might be something you're really good at. And then, too, I'm trying to think of other spiritual abilities that make me think of subconscious reflection. So we talked about astral projection. We talked about, let's see what else. Like just knowing. Is that claircognizance technically? Like knowing. Really good intuition. Good gut feelings about people. I think that's another thing that really makes you heroic in your spirit guide's eyes, pile 3, is like, not only do you know the truth about people before they know it, but you do it in a way too where it's protective. Even hearkening to like the imagery of the shield on the sentinel. Like a sentinel guards something, right? Like they're paying attention and being wary of things. They're like guards almost. And so I feel like that's almost maybe even gotten you out of some bad situations where you're like, I don't know if I trust this person, because you read people so dang well. And two, maybe that's even helped you in the way of warning other people about other people. Like maybe someone asks you, well, what do you think about this person? And you're like, I get a bad read on them. I don't think you should trust them. And then say that other person that asked you for your advice, trust them anyways. And they realize, oh crap, I should have listened to pile 3 because they were right on. And they might ask you, well, how did you know that person was like that? And you're like, I just knew. Like that kind of thing, like that good intuition about people. Let's grab your tarot cards too. See how else you're heroic in your spirit guide's eyes. So we have the Two of Wands, planning for the future. Future-oriented. You're very good about planning ahead, pile 3. Okay. Very good. We have the Five of Swords, which is interesting because sometimes that can mean harsh conflict or conflict of the tongue, meaning, like verbal fights. But that can be in a way of you're really good at debate, pile 3. You're really good about making a good point. You're really good about coming off as like logical in conversations, in which case, I mean, even maybe when the few times you do have to kind of confront people with the truth, you're like, I know how to win this battle. I know how to make them see the light, okay, because of that Five of Swords energy. We have the Four of Pentacles, okay? That can mean reserving our money. That can mean holding back our resources. It kind of makes me think of the Two of Wands there about planning for the future. I think you're very financially sensible too, pile 3. You're very, very good about knowing when to hold your money back and when to spend it, and how to save, and how to think about future you and not just today you, okay? We have the Two of Swords. Very interesting. Making choices, making good choices, I think, pile 3. Look at all these swords, too. You even had an air sign here with the Sentinel. And air with Bully, too. So you might be an air sign, pile 3. Or you have a lot of those placements in your chart. And yeah, like I said, Two of Swords is all about making choices. And sometimes it's kind of telling where the swords point to. So we have choices with, let's see, financial reserve. And then we have the Tower reversed. Look at that, pile 3. You're really, really, really sensible. You're really good about avoiding disasters, pile 3. Even though, I mean, I'm sure, of course, everybody makes mistakes in their life, but I think you're really good about being like, hey, no offense, people, but this is a dumb idea and we shouldn't do these things because it leads to disaster, and people maybe don't listen to your advice and they always regret it. Because the Tower is all about avoiding a disaster. Well, when it's reversed, at least, pile 3. Avoiding complete disaster or things falling apart, or the Tower can also mean massive change. It doesn't always have that completely negative connotation, pile 3. So it can really mean sometimes like avoiding a change, but I think for you you're really, really sensible about making sure not to be too risky with things. Okay, that's another way that your spirit guides see you, as heroic. Okay, if someone needs someone who is reliable, if someone needs someone who has really good common sense, you're the kind of hero that people would turn to. Like, I don't know if you're like a financial advisor, pile 3, or like you work really well with finances, or like, I also get like a sense of insurance too, because we talked about like reserving money and avoiding disaster, or like you're really, it's like there's something that you're really good at when it comes to helping people avoid disaster, or like logically plan through disasters, or something along those lines, or like I don't know if you work with taxes, like helping people figure out like their tax return to get like the best return that they can get, or something along those lines. It's something to do with money and avoiding disasters is what I'm hearing. Okay. And planning for their future, which once again makes me think of like a financial planner. Okay, something along that. Or maybe you work with investments. I don't know, something along those lines. Or you would be really good at that if you were to follow a career like that, pile 3. Very, very, very smart with thinking about how is this going to affect the future and knowing how to make the plan to get there. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, you're the, I think you're the only pile today that really had a Pentacles card pop out, especially as the core card being the heart of the matter. Which makes me think, yeah, if someone, Pentacles are Earth, which is material, finances, and career. I think sometimes people might even ask, God, why does pile 3 always know exactly what decision to make is the right decision? Yeah. And maybe they think it's luck, but actually really it is just your understanding, intelligent mind, pile 3. Very good about the future. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I missed anything, but let me just make sure. We talked about your attention to detail, seeing the truth underneath things, connecting to other people in the way of understanding them really well. Your willpower and your strength of spirit, your spiritual abilities, your ability to speak really well, which is interesting because we talked about that with Bully, but you also have 2 swords cards. You have the 5 of Swords and the 2 of Swords, which they're both air, which is communication and tarot. Okay. Good about navigating arguments, I think, with the Five of Swords. Yeah, we talked about that as well. Just discussed your financial ability and sensibility, right? Making good choices. So once again, you're kind of that understated everyman hero, pile 3. The unsung hero is what I'm hearing from your spirit guides. But that doesn't mean you're any less heroic than the other 2 piles today that got like the literal like Avenger card was. They both got that one from the Archetypes deck. You're the subtle hero. Okay. One of those heroes that makes people's lives better just because of your penetrating insight and your understanding of the world and your, obviously, common sense. I feel like you have a really good sense of common sense, pile 3. Yep. Beautiful. So, I hope that reading brought a smile to your face, pile 3, hearing the way that your spirit guides view you as a hero, right? Or how you're heroic in their eyes, I should say. And if you liked the reading and if it resonated with you, please like or comment or subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition, pile 3, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. A very happy rest of your day after hearing this is the way your spirit guides view you. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 3.